Hello, and welcome to week 7. Myself. I'm sure many of you are breathing a sigh of relief as you kind of finished up your fundraising plans. And so now, obviously, you're going to be working on putting together videos. But I like that we get those done early because then I think that these last 2 weeks you can really reflect on sort of what you have learned about fundraising and just nonprofit kind of marketing and messaging in general. And this week focuses on best practices. And I think the most important thing to remember about best practices, and this is one of the things that's sometimes challenging, particularly in a graduate level course where you're relying on academic literature and books, these are all great, but those take time. And the world is ever evolving. So, what was best practices 10 years ago might not be the same as we have new techniques and methods for the ways that people can donate. Also, people donate differently. There's been a lot of research that shows that people are, especially younger generations, donate more broadly at lower levels, for example. So I think it's just important to stay up to date and keep up with what's going on. So I just wanted to highlight a few resources that I have found helpful in my work with nonprofits in the organization. Also, if this is something you're really interested in, thinking about, particularly if you work in this area or if you're, a volunteer, taking advantage of free and sometimes paid workshops, seminars, just additional things. But the National Council of Nonprofits is sort of as it says right there, they produce and curate tools, resources, and samples for nonprofits. And so this is really everything. So you see over here, we have advocacy, boards, and governance. But there is a fundraising tab here and just tons of information, but also things that sometimes like we forget about, like thinking about tax law, with fundraising, just all sorts of things that you can learn more and read about, and just a really great place. You see there's like local nonprofit data, myths about nonprofits. So this is really kind of at a national level. Another resource that I found very helpful, now this is based in Indiana, but this applies everywhere. So IUPUI, Indiana Purdue University in Indianapolis, has a School of Philanthropy. It's the Lilly School. So heavily, I think the initial opening of the school was funded by the Lilly family and the Eli Lilly Foundation. So you can get degrees from there, but they also provide a lot of training opportunities that aren't full-blown degrees, as well as just some free resources. So when you see here for like professional development, they have webinars, podcasts that you can watch. They have courses and seminars, 20 courses, 4 certificates offered online. And a lot of these do cost money. But I know, for example, like our executive director these past 2 days was down at the IUPUI campus, and she is earning a leadership certificate. And one of the entire day was around fundraising. And then she'll report back to our board. So just a lot of different cool things. They have like Women's Philanthropy Institute. And this also just has a lot of information about how different people give, like the Women Give. So this is talking particularly about like women, female donors and what you might want to do. It's just a really cool website. I would click around. Another kind of nationally based, the Chronicle of Philanthropy. I believe it's published actually in person weekly. You do have to subscribe for unlimited access, but you can get, browse around. But a lot of times just the headlines. And this is really talking about like what's happening in the world of philanthropy and nonprofit giving. So here we see some things. So, at really high levels, but just to have your pulse on, see like here, not just for dancing teens, some charities sees potentials in TikTok fundraising. I know that's something that came up. The other thing I would encourage you to do is check out local resources. So I know in Indiana, we have a community foundation, and a lot of you mentioned community foundations. And one of the things our foundation does is they have like a monthly workshop series. And there's all sorts of things. There's things about board development, board governance, but they at least once or twice a year have some really interesting speakers come in and talk about fundraising and fund development. So I would check that out. In Indiana, there's like several different kind of networks. So you can find a lot of things, but I would just encourage you to keep your eyes open. The other thing that I have found really helpful, just as like a lay person, I guess, in the field in some ways, is to pay attention to other things you see. So what are different organizations doing and that is working, or what are some unique and creative fundraisers? Not because then you want to duplicate it, because, especially like event things, but are they doing something a little bit different? And as many of you, several times we've looked at different social media from different organizations. Look around at similar organizations. What are they doing? What seems to be successful? What is engaging the customers? So again, I encourage you as lifelong learners, which I assume that you all are because you're enrolled in a graduate program, is take what we have in this class and then sort of analyze things through the lens of that, but also be open to the idea that what you've learned today and what is in your fundraising plan today may be an excellent plan for the next 2 or 3 years, but then something could change. Just like if you think about like the pandemic, how we've seen how people have had to pivot and switch. And it will be interesting to see what people do moving forward as the world slowly returns to what it was like before. Who knows if we'll return completely. So as always, let me know if you have any questions. I'm almost through grading the case studies. So if you have a grade, for the few I have left, I'm working as fast as I can, so you'll get those back. And then again, just let me know if you have any questions, and have a great